Whew. All
There
right.
we go.
There it
All
is.
comfortable.
Officially. Well, now that I've changed it on the Word document, it's official. Hey, welcome to episode 34 of We Can't Code So We Criticize. This is a weekly game video podcast between two friends where we share relatively biased opinions on our favorite video games, but, I mean, find a source that isn't somewhat biased. So, in any way, we think we're fine. My name is Ben.
Name is Michael.
I hope it is.
I
My name
hope
is
so, too.
John. Who are you? Who am I talking to?
There's a lot of explaining to do with the IRS.
Doug. Oh, okay. Yeah, so now that we've spent enough time confusing all of our new listeners
viewers.
onto who the hosts actually are, Ben and Mike.
Yes. Oh, so we're actually going with that bit?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Ben and Mike.
My name's actually Doug, but
My
I
name
guess
is
I guess I'm Mike
Salamander.
today. No, but it's the Halloween season. It's good old October, and saw a good horror movie I haven't watched in a while with my girlfriend. It was
God, I
still
hope
really
I know
good.
What it is.
What do you think it is?
Is it vampires, Mike?
No. Oh, that's the one I gotta show her. That's right. I still gotta show her that one.
That one is so good.
It is
At the beginning of the month, I made a
amazing.
note, and I circled it and said, watch John Carpenter's Vampires.
Oh my god. Oh, I can't wait. Nope. I watched with her Cabin in the Woods.
That's
That
a great
one.
one.
That is. It randomly came up once, like the trailer of I don't know what we're watching, but when all the elevators open up. Yeah, she saw that. It seems like she goes, "That's cool." I'm like, "Well, let's watch this movie then."
Oh, yeah, I remember that scene.
It is, honestly, that movie still is fantastic. It is a great movie to get into.
Yeah,
I
I love
feel
the
like-
intro. It's just so soft-served. I mean, it's just two guys driving in a golf cart. Like, I love that it just has basically no intro. You would
Yeah.
think that you walked into the wrong movie if you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, it is just fantastic. It's one of the movies that you have no idea what you're getting into until you just watch the damn movie. You just have no idea what's going on. It's like, oh, okay, I'm in for this type of ride, and you're really excited for it too. It is just one of those golden ones.
Absolutely. No, I mean, to say anything about it would just be giving it away, but I mean, it's really
Oh yeah, I know.
just
That's
great.
that's the thing with it too. Is like you can't. If you always feel stupid saying it's like, oh, you gotta watch it. It's one of those things you do gotta watch it. Otherwise, you just ruin it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely something that, and it's a great watch through and through. There is no, I like watching it with her. I realized there is really no dull moments in the movie. It's pretty solid throughout it. And I also didn't realize this too, but Thor is in the movie, and I just totally just didn't know that until like I watched it with her. I was like, holy shit, that's Thor.
Yeah, he's like the typical jock kind of guy in that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
Which I thought was hilarious. I was like, I never realized that he was in this movie until now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. I think this movie opens up a good idea. I think that eventually we should do a top 5 movies that you should go into blind. As in, like, if you say anything about the movie, you're kind of ruining it. That one would definitely be on that list.
Yeah, and another one would be Dusk Till Dawn. That's another one that you should definitely go in blind for.
Mm.
Because that
Yeah,
one was like, I was like, that was like bouncing off and on my top 5 list. Too. Doing all good?
Yeah, I'm fine.
But I've been having a kind of a busy weekend, a busy week, so I just got a chance to watch that one movie. And then for games, I just played a little bit more of Terraria.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a good game just to, like I said, be like every other podcast so far, just to zone out. You just dig stuff, Death doesn't really have really effects, so it doesn't really matter. But it's a very calm and soothing game, so I've been really going into that. However, last night, I did get the Xbox Pass.
Oh, awesome.
And I have to say, just damn. this is such a good fucking deal, even after like the dollar, because like I just found out that like the dollar thing is just for everyone's first time. It's really just to get people into it. So there's
Yeah.
like no time on it at all, which is a great idea because it got me to get it, and now I know why. It's just like it's a fantastic system. It has every indie game on here, Ben, that I wanted to play, but I just been waiting for sales or just waiting to clear my list. And I am, as soon as like this podcast is done, I'm downloading one of these games and I'm actually gonna be playing it, which is Ape Out. I don't know if you remember hearing that game come out.
Yeah, that game came out like a month ago. It's pretty darn new.
I am so excited to play this. This game looks so much fun. It looked right up my alley, and I'm just dead excited just to play this game. So as soon as this podcast is over, it's gonna be something I'll be playing.
Yeah,
And
for anyone who doesn't know what the game is, let's give it a quick description. So it's called Ape
Yeah, sure.
Out, as in like a monkey. So Ape Out. And then Mike, why don't you explain? So it's like a top-down view.
Yeah, it's a top-down view like Diablo style, and you are an ape that escapes from, I guess, I don't really know the full thing of it, but like this test facility.
I would
And
assume,
so
yeah,
you're-
like a zoo or a test facility, like where there's not a lot of
Yeah.
apes, just like randomly
Well, the thing
around.
is why I'm gonna say test facility because all the guards have machine guns, and I don't think guards in a zoo will have machine guns.
Well, Mike, if you piss them off enough, I've seen a couple guys with machine guns.
Well, we all know what happened to Rambe. Rambe for life.
Yeah, Haram.
But anyways, but the thing is, what's cool about it is that you can use like human bodies as shields. You can throw things. You have super strength. Or you slaughter people. So there's like a lot of different ways how you can go around killing people. And the view, like how it works, the vision is that even though like it's like down top vision, you can't see around corners. You only can see what the ape would be able to see. So it has a really cool light effect, which so far what I've noticed, I don't know if that's completely true, but yeah, you can't see around corners. So like, if an enemy's behind a corner that you can't see that that's shaded black and stuff.
It's based on your perspective. So you've got like
the
like
ape's
you have
perspective.
you have like a V cone of your vision, your field of view, and if that's ever
Yeah.
blocked by anything, then it casts a shadow behind it, which people can like hide behind and stuff.
Which I really love that concept when games do that because it just adds this. It adds like a realism to it, and it's just a really fun aspect too as well. Because you're basically it's like Diablo where these enemies look like they're pretty easy to kill, and you're a pretty tough creature too. So it just looks like a lot of fun, and I'm just really excited to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, my impression, this is coming from someone who obviously hasn't touched the game, but it's a lot more, the graphics are completely different, but it plays out, I would think, like Hotline Miami, where a bunch of guys, you got to take
Great way
care of
to
them
look
really
at it.
quickly, and like it's basically, like I would get the impression that there's like a quick restart rate and you die a couple times, but basically you just like rush these group of guys with guns and you got to like, dodge, human shield, whatever. That was my impression.
Yeah, and it's another thing I like about this whole Xbox Pass is that it's actually saved my. I'm originally an Xbox player, and it's actually saved my Xbox account. It immediately recognized my email address and immediately pulled out my old Xbox account with my old Xbox name and everything. And I'm just like, holy shit, that is. And like a whole bunch of nostalgia came back. I'm like, this really just got me really back into gaming all of a sudden, just having all this back. It even has my old profile picture in there too as well, which I got from a random game I bought. Was Vampire Dishwasher. That is a fun game to play. I'm hoping.
Oh yeah, you talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah, I did, and I'm gonna try. I haven't really fully looked through it yet because to do this, you have to. It's like a beta version for the Xbox Pass thing right now for the PC, and it's not perfect. Like just go through the menus. Like it could use some work. Like I wish there was a separation from PC and Xbox that you get with the Xbox Pass, because it's kind of hard to really tell which one goes to what. Because with the Xbox Pass, for people who don't know, is that some games that you can play for free on the Xbox, you can't play on the PC.
Did you download the correct app? Because I didn't use the right. I was using the Microsoft Store for the longest time, and then I realized
I corrected the right app, and I had to update my computer. Like I had to do a heavy update on my computer to download it. Like you need like a new Windows or something like that for it to work. So like my whole computer, it took about like 30 minutes for me to download the thing, which is very shocking.
Yeah, I didn't experience that myself, but
Interesting.
okay. I can't collect my thoughts. Sorry. I agree
okay.
with what you're saying. How I really thought it was cool. Like the Xbox, it does a lot of saving on the cloud, which it doesn't really sound like a big feature, but Steam actually doesn't have this. Like you have to download and basically start over any single player games when you play them on Steam. If you play them on,
No,
like
Steam has that. Steam has cloud saving too.
I haven't experienced it in the games I've played. Like if I
Really?
download,
Wow. It's been like for almost all my games. Maybe you have the setting turned off because a lot of the games I restart up, it still has a lot of the save sometimes.
oh, possibly, but I mean, I really liked that. I went over to Nurse Tyler's house this weekend, and I was playing this game called Wargroove. It's an indie game, but I played a little bit on my desktop at home. Brought my my laptop over to his house, installed the game there, and I was back to where I started. Gears of
That's
War
cool.
2. We played Gears of War 5. Mike, we only played a couple, like maybe 30 minutes or something, so feel free to join as our third. But we like it has this long fucking tutorial, and I'm happy I didn't have to do that when I got back from Nurse Tyler's place once again. Like good feature.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh shit, they have Bridge Construction Portal. That one puzzle game I talked about on the podcast a long time ago. That's on here. Fuck yeah. I'm telling you, man, and it has Creatures in the Well, which I've been dying to play. It has everything. I'm like, fuck, they have such a good fucking deal.
Right. And so
And
I
even-
misspoke.
Oh, so excited.
I misspoke last time. So last week I said that it's $1 initially, and then it becomes $5 after that. That's wrong. The introductory price is normally $5, but there's a discount on that for being $1 right now. After the first month, Mike, we're going to be paying $10 a month. I still
Yeah, I
think
saw
that it's
that.
relatively worth it.
That's a
but
good deal.
I need to update that.
I mean, I might stick with it because an indie game's $10, and I can beat an indie game in about a week. So I don't know. Like, I actually am thinking about sticking with it because it would be my new way to play indie games because it just has all of them. Given I like to see what happens next month, because like I wonder what because it says like you can get like a notification for a catalog. It says what releases for the Xbox or something. Let me see what it exactly says.
Dude, next month The Outer Worlds comes out, and they already announced that's going to be on Xbox Games Pass.
What the? Are you for real?
Yeah, I don't know if that's exclusively the console or the PC, but they said that, yeah, that one's going to be, like, ready to go on this Xbox service.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That is nuts.
Yeah,
And it must be
pretty
for the
blown away by
PC
it all.
too.
Possibly. There was...
You know what? I used to be totally against, because there's always rumored that big companies are becoming more like, going to become more like Netflix kind of ways. But if they stay like this, it's not that bad, which is kind of funny for me to say that. Because I'm like a huge person that likes to own things. I'm like, and I don't even like, I prefer buying CDs for my games still. It's just a sad thing I really can't, but this system for its cost is actually really fucking good.
Well, here's the problem. So right now, it's really good, but the things that I've heard people say are, if they ever take a game off of their server, then you lose that game. Just like Netflix. If they take a movie off of Netflix, you can't you can't see it again. On top of that, too, if let's say, what was it? You don't get to keep anything. Basically, you're just borrowed that stuff. So whenever you do stop paying, you lose everything. So there's good and there's bad for it. The problem with Netflix is that now there's so much competition that there's so many games all split up. So I like it now, but I'm worried that, once the equivalent of like HBO and Hulu and all those and Apple TV, like once all those services start dividing up all the games, then we're going to have a fucking problem. But right now it's totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, and when it comes down to that, then I'd be just like, well, I'll just buy it then. Then I'll stop using the service, and then I'll just end my thing, and then I'll start going back to buying games. So in the end, it's like not really that bad.
Yeah, as for now, it's fine.
Because I'm pretty sure every person that's making video games is always going to be wanting to sell their game in some way. And so, I don't know if because I don't want to be saying, oh, it's never going to be like this forever. But I'm always like, I feel like that no matter what, there'll always be a way to buy a game. It'll never be behind like, oh, you have to pay a monthly thing unless it's like an MMO. And like I can see maybe AAA games going that way, but I hardly ever play a AAA game ever. I can't remember the last one I played, to be honest.
Mm.
And so I'm not really worried about AAA games. They've been out of my interest for such a long time. So I feel like that this is always gonna be a solid. I'm just kind of blown away that actually how much I like this. As soon as like I downloaded it and it was like I looked at it, I was like, motherfucker, they hooked me. You know what? That's a very clever system. It given though depends on what happens next month. So I like to see what happens to games if they lose games periodically every month, and do they gain games and so all that stuff too.
Right.
So I like to see what would really want to be interested to keep track to see what happens to Ape Out, all these other indie games like the Portal and all that stuff. Do those go out and you have to buy those? Because if you get because there's like a 3-level system. Well, not a 3-level system. There's 3 systems you can get with the Xbox Pass. You can get it just for the console, you can get it just for the PC, or you can get the Ultimate where you get it for the PC and the console, and you become technically a gold member. And in this gold member status, you also get discounts for buying games as well.
Yeah, that one's called Xbox Ultimate.
Yeah, which I got because it's just $1. I'm like, whatever. I just want to see what the discounts are, and they're some pretty heavy discounts. So that was the only reason why I did that. It's just like, well, I'm just doing it for a month, and if I want to keep on going, I'll just go trade up to the other thing instead. And so I just want to see like what that actually looks like, and it's actually pretty good, decent deals too as well. Let's see. Some of them don't seem to be don't work with some games, so apparently it's only with certain games. So,
I mean, you and I are in the same boat. I'm just gonna wait till the end of the month, which I think that I'm about 2.5 weeks into my month long, and if I'm still working my way through Metro Exodus, if I'm still working my way through Gears 5, which is going to be more than likely at least one of those, I'll probably give it for another month. I mean, $10 a month. Like, I don't even have Netflix right now, so it's more than affordable.
So now that would be a real pain in the butt, though. Is that like you're playing Exodus and then like it gets knocked off the Xbox Pass, so you have to buy it to actually do it then to finish the game. I mean, so I can see that happening, and so like that's just a dick move.
Yeah, they would have to announce it like 2 months in advance to give people a proper amount of time to say, hey, like, this is what's coming to the store next month, but also
this is what's going.
Yeah, like you would have to give people a heads up. Like I know Hulu does this. I don't know if Netflix does, if they alert you when something's leaving.
They do not. They don't give you any alerts or anything like that.
But Hulu actually does a nice thing where it says expiring soon, and occasionally I'll look onto that and I'll say, this is a show that's on my wish list and I haven't gotten around to it yet.
No, nice. Do you ever play? You played obviously Dead Cells.
Yep.
Yeah, and so there's another game that I want to play. It's called like Down the Wells or something like that. Let's see if I could find it again, because it's on here too, and I'm really excited to give it a go. It's basically the same thing, but it's 3D symmetrical instead. Let me see if I can find the game. Creature in the Well, and it looks a lot of fun. It looks exactly like that game, except it's just in more in 3D instead.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty excited to give that one a go too after I beat Ape Out, because that's also free with the Xbox Pass.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out. 'Cause I don't know. What did you think about Dead Cells? I actually thought it was a little overhyped.
I thought it was a very good game. I didn't think that it was overhyped. I think it was the hype they pretty much deserved, because it was a really solid game for especially indie develop, and for the price you got it for. I thought that it was because you don't get many good games like it, and I thought it was very unique and fun, and I played it nonstop. So I never thought it was overhyped. I just thought that people were praising it for being such a good indie game. Because it felt like a solid game, you know? I didn't feel like there was bugs or glitches. I never felt like things were ever not my fault. And so, you know, and when you play AAA games now, there's so many times where it feels like you're in a beta almost, or early access to a game. And for Dead Cells to come out and being just a solid combat game for an indie price, it's nice to come across that. It's a nice feeling.
Sure.
I mean, I only say this because of how early access is becoming such a huge thing, and an excuse to release games that are not finished yet, and then you get these frustration of these random bugs. Like at first they're funny and cute, but now, especially with games trying to be more expensive and trying to be like, what do they call it? Services or something? What do games call it? Like a paid service or something model?
Like a microtransaction, or what do you mean?
No, well they like Activision and other games are calling it something else when they say it's like a paid service instead of like a game. So it's their type of games. It's a term they use now.
Okay.
And it's like paid service, and it's on my tip of my tongue. I can't figure it, but they use a new term now, saying that games are now like they don't call them games, they call them like basically services. You're paying, and so that's the excuse because we fix it over time, but it's just like, but no, it's like just release a game that's not broken. Like, can you ever think of a AAA game that's been released that has not been massively broken in any way?
I mean, probably a couple. Like, I could look on my list if you want me to.
I just, every time I heard a AAA game count, there's always something that goes wrong with it massively. Or they throw in some more microtransactions later on, which I always find hilarious when they do that.
I don't know, I'm just thinking about... I've got my Nintendo Switch in front of me, so I'm thinking, any Nintendo game I can't think of was broken.
Oh, that's true shit.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, Nintendo always comes out fantastic. I mean, that just shows you the quality of Nintendo. Is that even though they release basically the same games, every single time when those games come out, they are never broken at all. Unless it's from a different developer. Then that's a whole different story. What was that one game that I played that was supposed to be like Advance Wars? Shit.
Oh.
Man,
it was like Armor or something, or like...
Something Metal,
Tank.
I think.
Metal? Tank? I don't know.
Like Metals... Yeah, I think Tank Metal? Either way, that game was fucking broken as fuck. And it wasn't even done. And we're just doing terrible with remembering stuff.
Yeah. This podcast sucks. What else is new? No,
I know, right? It's a fucking failure. But I'm just talking about, honestly, the reason why I'm really talking about this Xbox Pass thing is, one, I think it's a great thing. I think everyone should give it a try. Just because it's a fucking $1. I mean, just give it a go. You get fucking a month of just all these awesome games. I mean, these are really good games on here. Insane. So, and I've also haven't done really anything else because I've been super busy this whole entire week with personal work and all that shit.
Well, tell me what you download, because Nurse Tyler and I want to play Gears 5 with you, and it's 3-person co-op, so it's perfect for all of us.
I know, but it's so much data. It's such a large game.
Dude,
so big.
Nurse Tyler was telling me that you love Gears of War. Why are you being such a pussy-ass bitch about it?
Oh, because I played Gears of War to death, and it's the same game over and over then.
Okay. I was just getting the impression if someone told me, Ben, Dungeon Defenders 3 is coming out, and they wrote off the second one. It's going to be exactly the first one. I'd be pissing my pants waiting to play that. And
yeah, but I mean, Gears of War, though, I mean, you played one, you played them all.
I didn't play one, so this is all pretty fun for me.
Good. It's a good game. Hands down. I just played a shit ton of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so... But yeah, I'll you guys are fucking busting my balls here. I really want to play these other games.
Get around to them, then. It's fine. I understand it's a big commitment.
I know. I have all these cool opportunities to play all these games.
I'm not going to stand here and say that Gears of War is, my favorite game now. I've played, an hour of it at most, so don't worry about it. If anything...
I also want to be a little robot and taser people.
Yeah, well, we left you the robot character, so if you wanted him.
Yeah,
but
ability.
I don't know. Speaking of Gears of War 5, I can move into that. I played Gears of War 5, and so before we move on, I'll give my 2 cents about it. I don't have enough time on under it to really give it a rating, but I think that the game is okay. The combat, or sorry, not the combat, the movement is really unique, and it takes a little bit to get used to.
Yep.
The guys are freaking disco sliding around from cover to cover. It's crazy. You'll do an electric slide across 10 feet wearing full metal armor. It's funny.
It's even funnier with the original Gears of War characters because they're fucking hulks in the original one.
Yeah.
The ones you play as are just huge. And it's hilarious to watch him move like that, and they're just like sliding around and shit. It's hilarious.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed is that everyone is a freaking bodybuilder in the game. Like, there's like a lab technician who you would think is like busting crunches out between like his lunch hour and like when he wakes up and stuff. I mean, the guy's ripped as hell, but they got the voice actor to be like a total nerd for this guy, and it's like it doesn't fit what he sounds like.
Yeah, he's like I think he's one of the original characters in the first ones who was a soldier first. Because like all the muscly guys used to be soldiers in the beginning of it and all that, and they're all fucking steroided the fuck out. And which made it kind of cool though, because I don't know if it's still that, if you have that feeling with this one, but it's also kind of like you feel like you're overcumbered when you run. You don't feel like you're a hefty motherfucker. Do you feel like that when you play Gears? What was it, Gears 5?
I don't feel like I'm hefty. Is that what?
Okay, yeah. Well, because in the other ones you play as those guys. You play as like fucking massive muscles, like you have no neck, and just you're like hopped up on steroids. But your guy isn't that fast. Like he moves fast, but it's like it's very you're lumbering around like a fucking lumberjack, basically.
I mean, they move pretty fast in this one, but I know what you mean. It's like I can understand both ways. When you go to cover though, they like freaking magnet like snap to it though. So
fucking
it's funny
body tackle it.
Yeah, you'll be like lumbering around, and then like the second you tap A near a wall, the guy's like Sonic speed for a half second.
It's great, and you just like they're just like breaking their shoulders or their back when they hit cover.
Yeah,
for like how hard they fucking hit it.
The guns are pretty cool though. We're playing on like executive. I don't know what it's called, but it's like the hard difficulty. And
the weapons are fucking fun.
Yeah, chainsawing people in half is really fun, but like after the first level, you can basically never do it because people are always shooting at you. But I mean, it's fine. The other
it's basically a fuck you move.
Yeah, I get that. The action reload thing is interesting too. So Nurse Tyler was telling me that whenever you reload, you tap R right bumper, and if you tap it at the right time, you get like critical hit bullets or something. I don't know if that
Yeah, that's still the same. Yeah, so it kind of makes it adding more to reloading. And if you don't if you don't hit the button, it just reloads normally. But if you hit that right peak moment, you get you reload faster, and then you get extra damage. Yeah. But if you miss it, you jam your gun.
Well, that's what's always happening to me. Is like I'll shoot.
You suck.
No. I'll shoot and then I'll reload, and I'll realize my guy was already reloading. So then I jam my gun. So like I don't realize he's going through the reload animation, and then when I hit the button to reload, it thinks that I'm trying to get the critical strike damage. Yeah. I'm like, no. And so then the guy's like, oh, stupid gun, how gun work? And he becomes like a fucking Neanderthal for about 15 seconds, and then he figures it out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
there's so many good weapons.
I kind of wish that my guy would never reload until I told him to, because I've
there might be a setting for that
so many times.
There could be an option. Have you checked that out yet?
No, but I might.
Yeah, I definitely do that, because I can see how that can fuck you over pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Other than Gears 5, I'm just going to touch back on Terraria slightly, because you already talked about it, but I was going to say that I know we've been talking about Terraria for a couple weeks, and I think that I like the combat and the items more than anything else, because that's what distinguishes it from Minecraft, is simply that
the weapons,
the itemization, the customization of your character, but in comparison, though, like Terraria, they basically do nothing with the fact that the world can be completely created however you want. I mean, like, we could make this awesome base, we could do all this really cool stuff, but I just never feel inclined to do that. In comparison, Minecraft, I love making, like, secret doors and stuff. So
True.
That's the one thing, is, like, I feel like they have a
like,
lot of options, but they just don't make them appealing.
Yeah, because it's way more appealing to fight the next boss and get the next best item. So you're always just out there trying to get the next best thing.
Well, yeah,
so
but like,
you don't want to waste time back at base.
I mean, it doesn't have to be wasting time, though, is what I'm getting at. It can be equally fun.
But it is wasting time.
All right.
You should be out there getting better shit, making cooler stuff.
Yeah. Mike, whenever you and I decide to play again, which I don't know if it's going to come up anytime soon. It sounds like we're taking a quick break on the Games Pass for a bit, which is fine. The game will be there when we get back. But when we get back to Terraria eventually, I know I've tried to fight the plant monster twice already just to see what she's like, and she's a pain and a half.
Okay, I found some good items to buff my character's attack, so I can help out with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's Terraria. I'm just kind of burnt out of doing fighting the boss and then doing the grind for items. I hate the grind for items. I wish that part didn't suck as much.
I like it at the same time too, because it is fun to explore and try to stay alive to get all the materials. I kind of like that aspect. I really hate the just trying to find the biodomes though is a real fucking pain in the ass because you have to dig for them. You just have to dig through like every block of soil just to find every biodome to get everything. If they made it easier to find these like areas like the underground jungle or these other areas, I would like it a lot more, because otherwise everything's underground and finding shit underground is a pretty pain in the ass. But once you find once you find the areas you need, it's fun because you just go around just killing stuff and exploring while you're getting what you need. Yeah, so that's my only real big complaint is that I wish they made it easier to find the special biodome areas when you get into the later game.
I think that's just our fault too, though, because we're playing on a large map.
Yeah, but still, I wish they had a radar that can tell you where biodomes are. That'd be something nice to have.
Yeah. And then the last game I've been playing, which I think I mentioned last week, I was about to start, was Metro Exodus.
How you liking that?
Metro is it's always been a good series. It's hard as usual. I always play on the second hardest difficulty, just below Ranger. And Mike, speaking of which, remember how pissed you were about Metro Exodus not having Ranger mode ready for you right away? This game on Xbox Games Pass, you get it.
Oh fuck yes! And it wasn't ready for you right away. It was a DLC. In the second one, they made it you had to buy it.
Oh yeah.
It's like fuck you. So that is awesome to know that they kept that and you can get that right away. So knowing that, I'm probably going to be playing that one too.
Yep.
So I'm going to go straight into Ranger mode too, because Ranger mode is so fun.
Yeah. It's I don't know. All this is tough. Metro Exodus is extremely difficult though. There's nothing wrong with that. But
is it like a good difficulty or a frustrating difficulty?
It's a little frustrating. Trying to sneak around can be a little BS, especially because the game is out in the open. So like there's not as many corners to hide in. That part is really
darkness. Is the daylight set in the game where it's certain daytime, or is the time constantly going so like night can happen at any time when you're playing the game?
It cycles through, which actually I never thought about. I've been sleeping to get rid of to get past nighttime, but you're right. I probably should be using more nighttime if I'm trying more sneaking mechanics. I did not think about
because like in the other ones, it was really easy to sneak around because everything was in a dark ass tunnel with no lights, and you can distinguish the lights help you sneak around more.
Yeah.
So if you try, that's cool. You can sleep through the night though if you don't want to do with that. And I wonder if you can sleep during the day to make it night.
If you find a bed, you can do either.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely try doing that. Then that might help you out greatly.
Yeah,
because that's what I always thought was cool about the other Metro games was like the you really using the light, trying to conceal yourself from the light was really a fun aspect in the game too of the other Metro games.
Sure. The other thing I guess I like about Metro is that it's just like it's cool. I guess the train is probably the coolest thing about it. Like, I like that it's this train adventure. Like, when's the last time it was you had, like, this train convoy of people? It's a really cool idea. Like, trains haven't been this cool since when I was, like, 4 watching Thomas the Tank Engine. I don't know. Whenever I think about the game, I'm like, yeah, trains.
That's hilarious.
Dude, it's so cool. I love it. I love having just some big-ass train.
You just look at the review of like Metro Exodus and you just see Ben's name. It's just yeah, trains.
You can say what you want, but I got this big ass smile on my face thinking about riding a train. It's my favorite part of the game so far.
That honestly makes me really want to play the game now.
I mean, it doesn't say anything about the combat or anything. It's just cool. Like, it's just such a cool idea.
Oh my god, that is... I don't know why, but it's really got me really excited to play the game now.
I know. No, when you first see the train, like, it's in this big spinning train depot, and the thing is fucking massive. Like, the wheels are bigger than you for the most part, and just standing next to this thing, I was like, oh my god, I hope I get to ride that. And knowing that like most of the game is just based on you riding around this train, I was like, yeah. So, I don't know.
Damn. And we only glossed over it, but if people don't know what Ranger Mode is, Ranger Mode makes it so that you die super easy, but that also makes the enemies die in one bullet as well. Even like all the creatures too. Yeah, it is so much fun. It adds a really cool sense of realism to it, and even though you die easily, so do they. So it balances it out actually very well, and it makes it just so much fun.
Well, my understanding is that every hit to you is basically a death shot as long as it doesn't hit any limbs. Like, any body shot or head shot will just immediately kill you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's how it was too, yeah. I just remember you just die so easily, but so do they. So when I played it, I was like, wow, they're dying really easily. And because I was so good at the game, I never got hit until one time I finally got hit. I was like, oh shit, I'm basically dead. I'm like, okay, now I see. And I just immediately fell in love with it because it added a whole new tension too when you run into the creatures and stuff. And the creatures are kind of like werewolves in the Metro games, at least in the first two. I don't know what they are in the later one.
Yeah, I mean, basically they stalk you and they're big, hairy monsters.
And oh man, those moments when you're in the train, like these dark tunnels, and then all of a sudden you hear a roar and they just a whole bunch of them come at you. And you're just shooting down the tunnel at them. It's a great fucking feeling. It's just, it's such, all of them are good games to play. Honestly, give them a go. And just Ben's now got me actually, I wasn't really interested, but after the whole train thing, I don't know why, but it's making me want to play the game.
I'm telling you, man. I told you, it's it's cool. It's an awesome concept. I love trains.
I love That's the title of this podcast. I love trains.
Yeah. There it is.
Damn.
All right, I only played those 3 games: Gears 5, Metro, and Terraria. What did you play anything else?
No, just Terraria. Did you watch any movies or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. I saw 3.
Oh, nice. What'd you see?
So, first one I saw was called The Witch, and it's spelled with 2 V's at the beginning. So it's The Witch, I guess.
Yeah, I when me and my girlfriend saw that, we haven't seen it yet, but I'm like, how do you even say that? I'm like, how am I supposed to say that?
Yeah. So I watched a couple other movies. You're gonna notice a trend here. All the movies that I've been watching horror are A24. So Hereditary, the production company is called A24. So Hereditary, Midsummer, The Witch, and then the next movie I'm gonna talk about, they're all A24, and they all have the same general theme that they're very slow. So, The Witch, you might find it annoying because you can never understand the characters half the time. It's old English, where, basically these people just got off They talk about fucking going back to Europe half the time in the movie. So, you can tell, a couple years ago, they were on the Mayflower, riding their ass over to New England here. So, anyway, they have extremely deep Old English accents, and half the time it's impossible to understand what they're saying. I had to watch the thing with subtitles, but after that, it's totally... I thought it was great. As the other movies were way too slow, this one actually had some genuinely scary moments, and I thought that the progression really started to ramp up, so that was great. So that was The Witch. I think that one came out 2 years ago. I'm not quite sure. Maybe 1 year ago. But then the next movie I saw came out briefly before that, so I would say 2015, 2016, and this one was called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And this movie was equal parts okay and not okay.
Cool title.
Yeah, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. So it has nothing to do with a deer, but basically it's going off. Yeah, I know. Spoiler alert. It's going off of a old myth. I think it's with like Greek gods, but anyway, that's the sense of it. But this movie was good. The acting, once again, in all these movies, they have some of the best actors. But there were some really big pieces to the plot that were left out intentionally and just weren't explained, and they desperately needed to explain them. And like I understand that they were going with this idea of like, don't think about it doesn't matter, but in the back of my head I was like, no, I want to, like, it's a plot hole. Like,
yeah. You're just being lazy.
Basically, like I'm not going to completely ruin the story, but I'll say that one character has basically superpowers in a very small, to be ambiguous about it, one of the characters has superpowers, and it's never explained. They're not living in like a superhero world. It's nothing. It's just basically the plot is this guy's like, your family's going to get sick and die, and then they all start getting sick, and so I'm not going to go any further into like what happens, but they never explain like how he has this ability and anything like that. And you just kind of like, you once again, the story's not about this kid having superpowers. The story's about like this guy trying to save his family. So I understand that in the sense of the plot, it's not extremely important, but it was just like, how can you have a story and not kind of explain that even a little bit like that? It's so frustrating that, I don't know. It's such a big part of like, why can this person just decide when these people die and then they start dying?
Yeah.
or like that happens.
It's not like, when Star Wars explains how the Force works. It's like no one needed to know that, how the Force works. Everyone kind of just realized it was the Force. But when you have some random kid just come up and it's like, you're all going to die, it's like, well, how's he doing this? Like, come on, you got to give us something here. Is he like poisoning them? Does he have superpowers?
It's straight up like mystical or superpower or something. There is nothing that is like of this world. Like,
see, that's the problem. It's like when you start letting wizards live with you, they start doing this shit. That's when when you let people mix together. Muggles with fucking wizard people. It just doesn't work.
Dude, we gotta ban magic. Let's just keep Harry Potter where Harry Potter belongs. Go back to Hogwarts.
Fucking weirdo. Let's say more choice words, but fucking PC culture, with all the wizards.
Like, the wizards are gonna call you racist or magicist or something.
Good.
They're fucking hate magic.
Good. I'm glad they know I hate fucking magic.
Screw you. Flipendo, motherfucker.
Oh, look, I love this with my fucking wand. Good for you, I can fucking pick it up. Throw it at your fucking head.
Wingardium Leviosa, suck my dick. Yeah, we should just end on that note. No.
Fucking wizards.
Okay, so there's those movies, and then the last thing that I saw was a TV show called The Righteous Gemstones. Have you heard about this?
No, it sounds weird.
Yeah, so basically it's a comedy. Danny McBride is in it. He kind of rolls with like Seth Rogen and that group, James Franco. He was in This Is the End, or what was it called? The End of the World. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff. Pineapple Express, he's their dealer,
Yeah, I'm looking at the cast and all that stuff. Oh wow,
yeah.
It's got a lot of cool people.
So Righteous Gemstones is made by him, and he kind of plays the same character in every role. He's like some fuck up, like overly pompous kind of guy, just full of himself. But like the actor, Danny McBride, granted he plays the same character in this show, but I found this out in the credits. He created this show. And so that goes to show this guy ain't some one-trick pony. Like, he plays the same roles, but this is a really good show. It has Adam Devine from Workaholics and Pitch Perfect. It has fucking...
It's so fucking weird. I love him.
Yeah, it has John Goodman, which I mean, I hope everyone knows who John Goodman is. The first example I can think of with John Goodman is Roseanne, but that's like the thing that they want to distance themselves from the most right now. I don't know if you heard about Roseanne being like super racist lately.
And she was on some heavy metal fucking cations. I felt so bad for her. But no, yeah, I ran into that story too.
So John Goodman also was in The Hangover 3. So not that even that is one of his best works. John Goodman is freaking everywhere.
He's done so many good movies. He's a solid fucking actor. He's still a good actor today. It's ridiculous.
The second Quarantine movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane. That one was awesome.
I have not seen that yet, and I'm dying to see it. I need to find a way to watch that. Watch that.
That's a great horror film. You should make sure to see that one.
I've been dying to watch it, and I really I just haven't found a way to watch it. So
yeah,
I'll just see if it's on Play or something, like Google Play or something, so I can just rent it.
But I thought this show was great. It is totally like I was going into it expecting a couple cheap laughs or something, but it was awesome. It was so freaking good. It's so much more than just a comedy, and it legitimately. Even though there's like sex, drugs, rock and roll, all that, it's a show about a Christian family who runs a mega church basically, or what are they called, televangelicals, and it's really good. Like they really portray this sense of family that these churches have in a very good way, not like in a bad way. I thought it was great though, and they're making a second season that was announced, so I'm all excited about that.
It's always nice when you hear a TV show get another season.
Yeah. So, Mike, have you seen any other movies that you haven't talked about yet? Anything like that?
I finished like the first 6 seasons of Letterkenny. I've really just because I have Hulu now, and I've just and I got rid of actually Amazon Prime and Netflix. I don't have those anymore because me and my girlfriend were just getting sick and tired of them. We thought they were absolutely trash, and then when we I just realized I accidentally still at Hulu for when I was watching One Punch Man, and they actually had a lot of good movies on there, and they have a really good search engine too. Their search engine is way better than Netflix and Prime. And so I decided to start watching TV shows, and I got back into Letterkenny. So
for anyone who doesn't know what Letterkenny is, why don't you just give a brief example?
Letterkenny is about farmer Canadians in Canada. So they're basically Southerners, but in Canada.
They're like Canadian rednecks, yeah.
Canadian rednecks, but the good kind, not the racist kind.
They're not like dumb, stupid. Like it's basically just a well-knit community.
Yeah, it's a small farming community where everyone knows everyone, everyone's nice, and everyone's just fucking hilarious. It's a great show, but watching it from the first to the 6th season, you do realize that it is rinse and repeat, but. Also, it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But after 6th season, it's like, fuck, okay. Because I'm trying to watch the new season that's out. I think it's on, so like the new season is the 7th season. Yeah. And I can't get through it anymore. I'm like, I just can't. It's the same stuff, but this time they have a podcast, and which is kind of funny because, we're on a podcast and talking. But it just, and I don't know why this irked me, but originally, like, when it started, it would always say that it was like a Canadian program, founded, like, created by this Canadian program. But then in the 7th season, it says Hulu Original. I'm like, this isn't a Hulu Original. This is from this other place. This guy, the main guy in the story is actually the creator of it. And I don't know, it just kind of just irked me when I saw that, because Netflix does that too, when they take like shows that they didn't make and they say Netflix original. I'm like, no, you're not. This is not Netflix original at all. That's a complete lie. And I don't know why that irks me. It does. And so I saw that, I'm like, this kind of gives me some bad feelings. And so far, this season, something feels like it's missing from it. I don't know, because even though it's the same thing, I feel like it's not the same. Because instead of them talking from the farm stand now, it's them talking from a podcast. Like they're in like an old set room or something, an old like broadcast room. They're in a broadcast room, but obviously since it's a small town, it's something fancy. And so now they just have their podcast there, and it just doesn't feel the same. It feels cheaper. In fact, it doesn't seem as high quality, which is weird since Hulu's giving them money, and obviously Hulu has a shit ton of money to throw around. So I don't know why it doesn't feel as good as quality.
Yeah.
And also the overall jokes that they have going now are just kind of, I don't know, the characters are kind of becoming more like assholes than good people.
Sure.
Because originally, all the characters, I'm like, oh yeah, they're good, sure, they make fun of people, but other people are assholes too. But now they just feel like they're just being mean. Because, now everyone that was kind of like the assholes are actually pretty cool people because you get to know them throughout the seasons and they grow, but they've stayed the same. I'm like, oh, this is kind of disappointing. I don't know why.
Well, maybe that's the lesson that they're trying to get to at the end of season 7 is just be more tolerant towards other people because, they may seem cool at the beginning, the people that, the normal characters, the farmers, but as they meet them more, then they realize everyone's got their own shit going on. I don't
know.
What's up?
I don't know if it's that at all. I just feel like they're trying to go with something else, and I just don't feel like it's not hitting with me. It's just not, and I just have not been interested to watch it. But the first seasons, definitely give it a watch. Honestly, I think people would still enjoy the next season. For some reason, I just can't get into it. Maybe because I binge watched six seasons beforehand.
That could probably be it. But
it's a fantastic show. I think everyone should watch it. It's so fucking funny.
Here's my spiel. If you're going to give me a second to talk about Letterkenny, I'm going to say it this way. Season 1 was great. Season 2 was great. Season 3 is where it started to fall apart. But I don't blame that they got, bad ideas or anything other than the fact that I just think this show thrived in short form media. I think the show was the best on YouTube. If it was a 4-minute clip, then that's great. But the second that they started having to make stories and plot lines and have interlacing characters that or interlacing plots that come together with all these characters, that's when they start to fall apart. These guys, they know how to have a good one-liner. That's basically the entirety of the show, is having good one-liners. But the story, I've never cared about the story at all in this. You gotta love the show in clips. That's why it was so good on YouTube, because the show is very quotable, and it's very, is clippable even a term, but if you watch 5 seconds of a given episode, there's gonna be some great parts in that episode that you could take 5 seconds of and post on, Facebook and be like, I love this part, but mostly episodes as a whole just kind of suck, or at least the story sucks.
Yeah, for 7th season, it is not hitting with me at all. I did like some of the stories in the other ones. What I did find annoying, though, is that when I did like the stories that they were telling, they would stop and then do they would end the episode, and then the 2 following episodes would have nothing to do with it at all. They never talk about it. And then the 3rd episode, they talked about the story I was liking. And I was like, oh yeah, this was happening. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? It makes, their way of telling the story has no order at all, in any sense of the way.
Yeah. It's completely randomized, basically.
Yeah. People you think, you can think, oh, you just don't see it. No, there is no system to this. I've tried to figure out what their system is. There is nothing at all when it comes to them telling an overarching story or any type of long story. It's basically one story, and then that story ends, 2 other stories, and then that story's back again for no particular reason. It's there again. I'm like, okay, I guess they're just trying to tackle this again. And a lot of times I just feel like I'm watching them are these in the right order, or did I get these something mixed up? But yeah, besides that complaint, though, I enjoyed it. I feel like it has gone to the point, though, where the season, it's been going on a little bit too long. I think it needs to, be put to rest. I think they need to finish it up and just wrap it up and end it, because I think it's told its stories, it's told its jokes, and I think it's good for it to end before it runs itself dry and puts a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But that's just me on that.
There have been a few seasons that have shined. I said that season 3 kind of sucked, but that doesn't mean that it was bad since then. I think season 4 was when they had the winter episodes in Canada. And those were great. So I just think that they need to drastically change how they tell their story. But otherwise, I still love the humor in it.
Well, then you might like the seventh one, because on the seventh one they kind of changed it differently by doing the like they're all doing a podcast together, and then like they constantly have random people come in. But
We'll see.
For me, it's not hitting with me, but it might hit with you.
Maybe.
And then
Do you want to get to the top 5, or did you see something else?
I'm trying to think if I saw anything else. No, I don't think I've seen anything else. So yeah, if we want to, we can hop over to the top 5.
Yeah. All right.
Just
So this
get my
week's top
list
5 is top 5 classic horror movies. So these are all movies that were made prior to 2000. I think last year, well, not. I think the last time that we did a Halloween block, of podcasts, we did top 5 modern horror films. So feel free to check that out. It's one of our earlier episodes, like maybe number 4 or 5 or something. It's probably shit, but it's still there if you want to see it.
Yep.
So now we decided to flip this thing and say top 5 classics, so pre-2000. So, I think you went first last time, Mike. I don't know.
Yes, I did. I remember I went off first.
Okay. So I'll start out with my number 5, my number 4, and my number 3, and then we'll switch to Mike, and then we'll go back and forth between number 2s and number 1s. So, my number 5 for top 5 classic horror movies, as we expressed last week, horror is diverse. We were talking about games and we were saying, like, is The Evil Dead 2, is that a horror film? It's more comedy. It's not necessarily scary or anything. But I would argue it has horror elements, and even though a movie isn't 100% one genre or another, I would claim that that was a horror movie. My number 5, first of all, I should say, Evil Dead 2 is on my honorable mentions, but my number 5 is actually another horror comedy, and this one is called The Faculty.
Oh, man, The Faculty. Good choice, my friend. Good choice.
Have you... Okay, so you've seen this.
Of course I've seen it. I think anyone in our age level has seen it.
That is not true. The Faculty is a very, very obscure movie in terms of all the other horror movies out there. But
really,
this is partially why I love it. This was one of Elijah Wood's first movies, and if not his very first one. The kid is young in this, and he's got to be like 15 or 16 years old or something. But anyway, to give a brief summary, The Faculty is a great movie where it's about a bunch of high schoolers, and it pulls the same trope that everyone's heard before, where you got the jock, the outcast, the preppy girl, the introvert, all that, and they kind of group them all together.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a Breakfast Club meets the Body Snatchers, basically. So it's this group of kids, and slowly their school is being taken over by something. Dun dun dun. But this so the thing that's taking over is going for the faculty first, because the monster, without giving away too much of what it is, the monster knows that the faculty are the supervisors, that they have access to all the children, that they're in charge. They have complete control of everything. No one's going to question them at all. Exactly. So in the school which they are in, the faculty are basically all turned into this body snatcher kind of creature. So it's a great movie about how this town, first off this high school, and then this town is being taken in by this body snatcher kind of monster. And these kids, they're going through their typical high school lives, being picked on, being bullied, and fights and stuff, and then they slowly realize, okay, this is getting a little more violent than usual. What the fuck is going on? And it turns out that there's basically this invasion going on with these body snatcher type creatures. Super good movie though. The comedy is spot on. It's not slapping your leg funny, but I think back to some of the moments in the movie, and
It doesn't take itself too seriously.
The funniest thing in my eyes is one of the main characters is like a druggie, and one of the ways that they killed the monster a few times is with this druggie's like powder. He's got like crushed up pills like Xanax or like Adderall or something.
He hides them in pens. So he takes out the ink of the ink capsule of pens and he sticks the drugs in those.
And then so like you unscrew the pen, you take out the ink container and you snort it, and that's how people get high in the movie. But the monster needs water, and so they use these pens and just jab them in their eyes and stuff, and it dehydrates the body snatcher. Yeah. And it is just such a cool idea where basically like it's poetic. I mean, I don't want to get too like film critic on the whole idea, but this idea of taking out your supervisors, your bosses, your parents with drugs, like literally drugs. It's such a teen movie, and I don't know, the symbolism is great, but also the fact that it doesn't need that symbolism is also great. The movie doesn't try to be more than what it is. It's just this ironic, coincidental thing that's just like, oh, drugs are, it's like, it's such a, I don't know.
I remember a really cool soundtrack too as well, like something like School's Out or something like that. It had a really cool soundtrack too.
That was, that'd be Alice Cooper, but they, everything about it, the music choice is really good. Like I said, this is a great teen movie. So The Faculty, it's awesome. Yeah. It came out in late 90s, I think 97, 98, 99, around there.
You're right. It came out in 1998.
Okay, yeah. So this was right before the cutoff point, but I saw it on there and I was like, oh, yes, I love this movie. It's great.
Yeah.
So Faculty, great movie. Elijah Wood too. Just, I mean, like the kid puts his all into the acting, and so do a lot of other people. Let's see. My next movie, my number 4. So that was my only comedy horror on here, because when we're talking about the best classic horror films, that is a huge spectrum to choose from. But I wanted to make sure I added one comedy on here, because comedy and horror, as we mentioned last week, they go hand in hand. And if I had to choose one movie that properly showed that, Faculty would be it.
That's a good one.
My number 4, we're going to start getting into... Basically, the rest of these are all classics, as our title would suggest, where if you haven't seen this, like, what are you doing? Pause the podcast, go rent the movie. So, number 4 is The Sixth Sense. So...
Another good one.
This one is great. Sixth Sense, it stars Bruce Willis, and in the only time that he's not an action hero. But The Sixth Sense follows around a little boy, and in the iconic way that he says it is, I see dead people. So he is aware, he can see, like, people with, like, their head ripped off or, like, gunshot wounds, and it's just, like, basically ghosts, but they can, like, touch him and interact with him, and he's the only one that can see them, and everyone thinks he's crazy and weird, but he basically decides to start helping these ghosts, and the way that some of these people die in this movie is, it's really tragic. It's like they tell the stories.
They're all sad. They're all very, very sad stories.
None of the movies that I have on here are like pop out scary. They don't try to do like a quick jump scare or anything. This movie is just very sad, frightening. Like there's a scene where someone's getting poisoned and they don't know it, and it's like, like, I wish I could tell you because this person's about to get it, and you're like, no. Like, it's this whole drawn-out scene where the poison's sitting there, and it's just like,
It's, I know what scene you're talking about.
It really wrenches at your a lot of your emotions. So, The Sixth Sense is really great, and some would also argue that it is one of M. Night Shyamalan's few great movies. I mean, he also did Signs, which is good.
Yeah, which was really good. He had some great ones, and then he had a lot of flops afterwards, because he got, it's like how the Star Wars worked. The ones were great, but then they gave him all the power, and then when they had all the power, they realized, oh, okay, it wasn't just you. You need some balance. A lot of these directors, they are really good, but they also need someone there to say, hey, let's not do it. Have the ability to say that. Because after, like, all these great films, no one can say no to him, because he was fucking M. Night Shyamalan, the guy who made Signs, The Sixth Sense, and all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, he doesn't need to listen to anyone. But no, these directors should, and that's because I think he's still a great director. Because I see so much potential in his movies. There just need to be someone that needs to be there, go like just to say no, you know. I feel like,
well,
and that's what I feel like about him, because a lot of his movies turn out really good, but they just have these horrible flops in the middle of them, and it's just like if there was just, I just felt like there was no one there to say, hey, let's not do that. Let's do this.
Well, I think what's interesting is having a budget. The Sixth Sense is the first movie that M. Night Shyamalan got, like, insane popularity for. And this was a movie that it doesn't really... You wouldn't be able to tell that it's a low-budget film. Not that it is. But after this movie, I think the fame got to his head. And he's like, oh, let's do all this crazy stuff. Like, this is the movie that put him on the map for being the guy that everyone thinks of as, like, what a twist. Like, no surprises here. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
And
this
he
movie's gonna
dug
have a twist.
into it. I think maybe he tried to dig into his own thing. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't dig into it.
Yeah. I mean, he basically tried to fit into his own shoes. He became this person that's like, oh, I need to keep going better and better and better. And it just, because he felt so obligated to make these great films, they just sucked. But his first
try to
couple
make
ones
these great twists. It's like, you don't always need a twist in the film to make it great. It's always seems like you try to one-up himself.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's okay. It's
The Sixth Sense, though, it is the movie that put him on the map, and for a very good reason. The acting is great. The horror in this is, like in a lot of my other movies, it's very subtle, but it's also just, I mean, the storytelling is probably what really sells this on being like a horror film.
Yeah.
So number 5, The Faculty. Number 4, The Sixth Sense. And then number 3, one of my favorite movies with probably the best acting of anyone on this entire list, is Silence of the Lambs. And for anyone who knows, Hannibal Lecter, I can't think of a single better acting performance than I can't think of his face as I'm talking about this, but let me just type it in here. Anyway, just this incredible... Oh, Anthony Hopkins. That's what it is. So yeah. Anthony Hopkins.
I forgot his name too, so don't feel bad.
So, I mean, what a freaking actor. In this movie, he plays a Hannibal. I'm sorry, a cannibal.
Hannibal, yeah.
His name is Hannibal Lecter, and he plays a cannibal. And this is probably one of the first movies that I'm familiar with that started out the more unsettling horror. This isn't a guy who goes around with a knife, like slashing people or anything, but basically he just sits there very calm, very composed, and smiling, and very patient, but at the end of the day, the first thing that you're told about this guy is he is a murderer. He eats people, like basically all these unspeakable crimes, and then the first time that you see them, he is very, very intelligent, very calm, and that's the scary thing about him. I think it was one of the first movies that created this.
Look at these.
Exactly, yeah. It was one of the first movies that created this villain, but the villain wasn't like twisting his beard, like I'm going to blow up the world.
It did a really good job of doing the Stockholm syndrome, where you actually start sympathizing with the bad person, the bad guy. I think that Silence of the Lambs was one of the first few films that really nailed it, where they got you to feel and root for the bad guy, who is an absolute horrible person. I mean, he just eats people that he does not like, in a sense. And Hannibal is the worst of the worst type of person you can think of, though he does only eat, I think, bad people, but still, I mean, he just fucking tortures people and all that stuff, and he does kill innocent people, but you do find yourself rooting for him. You want to like him in the film, and you do end up liking him.
Yeah, he's like an anti-hero, basically. It became a trilogy. The second one kind of sucks, but the third one's decent. And the trilogy in itself, in general, is pretty good. But, I mean, the first one is just... I mean, it's great. I think it's... I mean, obviously, it's my number 3 of best classic horror films. Silence of the Lambs, though, great imagery, just great cinematography in general. Like, when I think of that movie... I close my eyes and I see like him, red jumpsuit, wearing that leather mask. Like it is such a good, it's almost as iconic as like Freddy or Jason or all those other classic horror villains. It's such a good. They did such a good job with making this guy who's just a fucking guy in an orange jumpsuit, how to make him look sinister and have him have an image without having, blades for a hand or wielding a massive fucking kitchen knife or anything. Like, they just did a great job. So, those are my lower 5. Number 5, The Faculty. The only comedy horror that's going to be on this list, but for very fucking good reason. Number 4, Sixth Sense. And number 3, Silence of the Lambs. Mike, what is your number 5?
Hearing your list, it's kind of very funny and just like how I know like what type of horror movies that we both like. You obviously like the very eerie, psychological, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Me, on the other hand, you're gonna understand when I go through my list the type of movies I like in horror.
No, I'm sure like a lot of blood and gore slasher types, so I'm excited.
Exactly. In a sense, not just like the classic slasher. I do like blood and gore, but not like the whole sexualization of slasher-wise. Like, how, tits everywhere kind of things. But
why
my number
don't
5
you like that?
is... We all know I don't like it. No. My number 5 is... We talked about before, vampires. It's just called The Vampires. And the main actor is James fucking Woods. And he makes this movie. It is a fantastic movie. If you have not seen this movie, you have to go see this movie. Because what I'm going to tell you, you will never fully understand it until you see this movie. Because it is filled with good old James Woods, the one-liners that just come out of nowhere and are just fantastic. And there's so much blood and gore, and it's just great. It is a story of vampire hunters who seem to be acceptable, and like you just like believe that they're actual vampire hunters, and they're just a bunch of just nobodies, dirtbags, fat people.
It's my favorite part. It's basically they went to a convention for lookalikes for Dog the Bounty Hunter, and they hired the first 8 people they saw.
And they said, "You're great." They are the most average-looking people you would ever see in a movie. And they're all just vampire hunters. And the movie just starts off with them taking down a vampire den. No big deal with them. It's just great. Just watch them do this
fucking movie.
This
movie shouldn't be a comedy, but it is.
It is a comedy. It is. But the thing is, though, what makes it funny is that they take it seriously. Like, everyone's serious in the movie. There's James Wood, the one-liners, but he's a serious character. His crew are all serious. The main bad guy, he's super serious.
They're all wearing their jeans super tight and up to their belly buttons, and with their shirt tucked in and all like faded and 90s overweight style.
Too. It's best too because they're trying to look tough and they're all overweight, and it's like, oh my god. Oh, but there's hookers too, so you get the hookers, so don't worry about that.
I remember our spiel from last Halloween once again. Yeah, so last time that we had a Halloween podcast, Mike told me he was going to show me this movie, and if I can kind of take the wheel for a second here, Mike.
Go for it. I always love it when other people talk about it.
So this is basically going to be a rinse and repeat of what I said, the first time we talked about it, but yeah, so Mike says the first scene is like these guys, they're taking down a vampire den and like it's badass, and then like the next fucking scene, it's a 90s movie, so these guys are like 90s badass. They're like not really badass, they just think they're bad. Like can you think of anyone in the 90s who was like, that guy's hardcore? So anyway, they get back to their hotel, which is
fat too. I love it. Yeah. Every single one of them is fat except for James Wood. I think James Wood's kind of fit.
They get back to their hotel, and they're like 90s, like having a biker party,
Party.
in their like suit in their Motel 8 room, and then there's like hookers show up, and it's like dirty, gross women, and their guys are like, this is the life. Pass me another PBR and let me sleep with this hooker. Like it is so like uncomfortable to watch, and these guys are pretending to be like, yeah, this is what being a badass looks like. It's, God, no, it's not it at all. It looks terrible.
I love it so much. And then things go wrong. And the head vampire, the main protagonist, comes and wrecks shit up. And I don't want to give anything away about that. But the main plot then is James Wood is hunting down this vampire. Him and his crew.
Now it's personal.
Basically. And then there's some subplot with the church and all that. It's great. It's fantastic. I don't want to give away because it's something that I know no one's ever seen. Because it's just called The Vampires. And everyone goes like, oh. And like, because there's someone tell people it's called Vampires. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's about vampires. And then I say James Wood. And they go, what? And then they lose interest, but you have to watch it. He's fantastic in it.
The movie's called Vampires featuring James Woods. It should have been called James Woods featuring vampires.
Basically. It's every single time I think about this movie, it makes me smile. And that's like kind of like, and once again, in pre-2000, there's 1,000 good horror movies, by the way. And if we actually wanted to go in depth on how many good horror movies are out there, we would be here fucking forever. So how I helped myself make this, these are the movies that I always have to show people. If I'm with people, these are the movies I want to show people right away. And that's how I made my list and all that stuff. And to tell you the truth, like the order they're in doesn't really matter with me. They're the top 5. I mean, there's so many more things I want to put on this list that I can't. Because, like, I didn't even bother making an honorable mention because we'd be here all day. So,
right.
I just wanted to go with that going down the list. My next movie is Tremors.
Wait. What? The last thing I want to say about Vampires is that movie is directed by John Carpenter. The John Carpenter who directed The Thing, which is considered one of the greatest horror films ever created. John... It's like if Stanley Kubrick wrote the Simpsons movie. I had to mention that because that is one of my favorite parts. I remember watching that and being like, this movie is shit. Oh wait, John Carpenter directed this.
This movie, by the way, the movie isn't shit. It is good. It is a good kind of bad movie. It is fantastic. Shit. It's good shit.
All right, sorry, Mike.
That's
number 4.
Number 4 is Tremors.
Good one.
Have you ever seen that? So yes, you have seen it.
I've seen the first 2 or 3.
There's 6 of them.
Shit.
And so, yeah, there's 6 now. I've seen the first and the second and a little bit of the third one. I didn't continue after that one. The second one's still good, but the first one's where it's at. I can watch this movie any time of the fucking week. It's one of those movies that I can easily just put on and listen to and just watch. It is a fantastic horror movie. It's got good comedy, it's got good acting, it's got a good story, it's got a great monster. And it's just fantastic. It involves a simple town that's in the middle of nowhere. That is just a town of like 15 people, maybe, would you say? Even? I think if it's even less.
15?
I think maybe
No, come on. There's
like 10.
I've lived in Montana. Like, small towns still have a couple hundred people. No, but
in this town, it looks like there's only like 10 or 15 people in it.
Okay, if they have any kind of a market or store or anything other than just residential buildings, there's at least 50 people there. I mean...
But in this whole entire movie, it seems like there's only like these 10 or 15 people. And
yeah,
so they're in the middle of a canyon. It's like in the middle of a desert in between this canyon, so you can't get cell signal out. They're just these people that live out in the middle of nowhere because they just like being alone. They want to, so that's why these people are there. And the main characters are these 2 guys that just are friends, and they are just basically hand workers. They just basically do side jobs for everyone around the town. They work at the dump. They fix fences for people. Anything for small cash, because in a small town, you don't need a lot of money to, live. So they're basically the handymen of the thing. And sadly, and they're planning on leaving, and then during when they're going to leave, these creatures show up which live underground, and they can only sense things by sound, and they're giant fucking worms with snakes for mouths.
Oh,
they have a bunch of snakes for tongues. Sorry, to be accurate.
Yeah.
And they just kill everyone, and it's so much fun. And every character is is amazingly great, especially the crazy conspiracy married couple that have all the guns in the fucking world and have like a fucking solid bunker. They're my favorite characters in the movie. I absolutely love them to death. But this is another movie that I think everyone needs to go and watch because I just don't know how to explain it. It's just a really good horror movie. It's a good monster movie.
That's probably one of the best series movies. It's probably one of the best cult series movies because a lot of other series movies, like trilogies like Star Wars or, Lord of the Rings, they're all basically pretty well known. But Tremors has always been like the underdog, and they just keep making them.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good for the most part. Like, you would think that these movies would officially be in theaters now, but somehow they're still like underground cult style. And they're just like they're the best. It's the best series you've never heard of is probably the best way to put it.
That's a great way to look at it. And the last one came out in 2018. What?
That's recently.
Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell. Well, I have to give that one a watch now. Let's see where I can find that.
That name does not sound promising, but neither does number 6 of any series, so whatever.
Yeah. The first and the second are solid. The second one, they're solid. The third one, you can pass, and I haven't seen anything after that one now.
Yeah.
But that's Tremors. If I had to sum it all up, it's a really good fucking monster film. And if you just want a good, simple monster movie, this is something that you can put on. I think it's good for everyone. It's not that scary, but it still has a nice undertone of horror in it. Not undertone. It's still a great horror film, but it's not too freaky that not everyone can watch it. It's a movie that everyone can watch, and I think that everyone can actually really enjoy too, because everything is pretty solid in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my number 4 is Tremors. This one is number 3. It's in the middle because this one is really kind of just for me. I know for a fact no one else is going to like this movie.
Is it vampires again? Sorry.
Yeah, you caught me. It is vampires. But I know it's actually a lot of my movies are really just totally different. And I didn't mean to do that, but after looking at my list, some of them are.
This is why we do this list. It's subjective. It's not objective, You like movies, I like movies.
This one is one that's always in my heart. I've seen this 1,000 fucking times, maybe even more. I can quote every line of this movie, and it is the original, literally the first one, the black and white version. Well, not version. It is the one, The Thing, and this is people are thinking, it's like it wasn't black and white. No, there was a movie that came out in 1951 called The Thing, and that one was also in the Arctic, where a spaceship is found in the Arctic, and the military go dig it up, and they find an ice cube. But in this one, instead of being a biological creature that is goes down to the micro level, this one is basically a giant Frankenstein veggie creature. So it's basically a carrot Frankenstein.
Okay.
And the character who plays that creature is Raymond's father. Actually, is the one who plays that creature.
Who's Raymond?
Everyone loves Raymond.
Oh,
do you remember that TV show? Remember his dad?
Yeah.
That's who played actually the Frankenstein creature. It's a black and white film.
Okay.
It's something my dad shows me, and every single time we're together, we watch this movie every fucking time, and we will watch it once and then let it replay itself, and we watch it again so many times. I think we watched it maybe 3 times in a row one time, as we're just chilling out, hanging out with each other. And this is just, it's the same premise. There are just these, except this time it's actually, so in this one, there are this Air Force goes into a flyovers of science facility because the scientists there is like, hey, we found this thing that crashed over here. We need someone else to fly us over there. So the military's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do it. So that's why there's the Air Force there.
Yeah.
So the people who are trying to survive against these creatures is the military, is the Air Force, and the scientists. And the creature is a vegetable, and it lives off of human blood instead of just water. It can use human blood to live and to also produce more offsprings. So that's why so that becomes like the bigger threat. It's like we can't let this thing escape and all that stuff. And it's just fantastic for me. I don't know why I love it so much. It's the classic black and white film, but it's just good. The music's good. I just like everything about it. There's nothing else I can explain about it, but I've seen this movie like 20,000 times. And if you love The Thing, like I do, like, you know, the one that everyone else knows, this is definitely something to definitely watch because this is where it came from. And I think everyone, and the funny thing is, I saw that one first before I saw The Thing, like the newer version of The Thing, the 1982 version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the John Carpenter.
The John Carpenter one. And so I just like, so that's the thing I knew. And which is kind of funny because then they came out with other The Thing movies because they came out with a prequel and all that stuff, which I found was hilarious. And then it became a one that was, I think, then there's the prequel. And so so there's the original first one, then there's the remake. So so everyone knows the remake. I know the original. And then there was the prequel to the remake. And I was not really a fan of the prequel of the remake. It wasn't that good. Did you see it or no?
Yeah, I did. I mean,
it was lackluster.
From what I can tell, it didn't have like a big noteworthy director. I can't remember exactly, but it just kind of felt like another reboot of some kind. Even though it was its own story, technically, it just felt like they were trying to cash in on the popular franchise.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way too. I took nothing away from it. There was no like iconic scene or anything like that. But yeah, so those are my top 5, which is Vampires, a must see for everyone, because I know for everyone here that's listening has never seen the damn movie. And this is Vampires with James Wood.
We're joking around, but it is entertaining as all hell. That's the very least I could say, is that it is entertaining as all hell.
I really do not want to spoil it. It's just good. You will not regret watching it, and especially watch it with other people. It's great to watch by yourself, but you will have a fucking blast watching this with other people.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Tremors. It's a great monster flick. I think it's overrounded. Fuck you. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a perfectly rounded movie of a monster flick. There, done. Going on. And then the middle, number 3, The Thing, the original, the 1951 black and white version. It did spawn an iconic remake of the Thing that everyone knows and loves. And it's just something that's personal in my heart because it's a movie that I've watched my father with like 20,000 times. I have a copy of it myself. In fact, I might throw it in when I'm downloading Ape Out to listen to the background. Just talk about it now. I'm guaranteeing we'll be throwing that in the background. Ben, what is your number 2?
So this is actually a pretty good transition because my number 2 is John Carpenter's The Thing. So the 1980 version.
Yep. It's fucking fantastic.
It's great.
It is. The creatures and stuff are amazing. And what's funny is that the guy who made the creatures in that film also did this, was also in this awful other horror movie. It was like The Unnatural, which he actually made this mutated bear. And this movie was bad, but the bear looked fucking fantastic. And I later found out that he was the one who made it. I was like, oh, that explains that. Because the creatures in this movie, in The Thing, are just amazing. They're just nightmare fuel. It's so good.
It's really good. It's in previous episodes, Mike and I have talked about the uncanny valley, which basically means like it's a robot, but it acts like it's very humanistic.
You can tell. It's trying to be. The uncanny valley is in the area where something's trying to be really real, but you know it's fake and it's eerie and creepy.
Yeah.
And then This,
Like
I
the
feel like
facial
with-
animations look off, or it has like
Yeah.
rigid movements or something, and that is creepy. And John Carpenter's The Thing. He builds these, I guess would you just call them robots? But I mean,
puppets, robots.
yeah, it's like a mixture of those. But
Yeah.
man, they get under your skin. I mean, even
Oh, they are so well done. It's like the thing with like with people getting confused with Uncanny Valley is like, yeah, sure, the Uncanny Valley shows like, oh, it doesn't look real. These look real and disturbing, and though like they're not, and it's just, I guess it nails it perfectly. They're just, damn.
well, it's like when people talk about Jurassic Park and how like, oh, that old Jurassic Park movie looked way better than the ones that we do now. John Carpenter's The Thing is almost 40 years old. And
1982, that movie came out.
almost 40. And this movie looks unbelievable still. I mean,
It's
the
just-
monsters and
oof.
everything. The acting is really good. There are some special effects that I don't want to give out too much, but I mean,
Yeah.
everything about it. The cinematography is great.
It's kind of
The-
fun. We said we weren't going to spoil, like we didn't care about spoilers since they're so old. But when we talk about how much we like this, like you just can't spoil it. It's just that good
Because
you
in
don't
the
want to
off
ruin it
chance
for
that-
someone.
In the off chance that someone hasn't seen this, even if it's 40 years old, I don't want them to.
Yeah,
I don't want to
it's-
ruin it for them.
Exactly. That's how good these movies are. It's like that's how good this movie is. It's just fucking good, and it's it's just fantastic. The acting is great. The story is great. The
Without
everything, the sound effects,
so
the
yeah,
atmosphere.
the thing that I really like is that I was reading up a little bit about this, and they said that John Carpenter has a still camera style where the camera doesn't do any whipping around, it doesn't do any like special anything. It's just wherever he places the camera, generally for that scene is where it sits. If someone's chatting, like if someone's talking to someone, it'll sit over the shoulder. It's not going to try to like wrap around two guys or anything. Like it generally is
Yeah.
fixed on something or stationary. And it goes to show that even with the camera not having all these special fancy tricks, that he can make a scene feel very powerful, even though the style is extremely restrained. So
Oh, the prevalence too. The whole prevalence of the whole thing just fits perfectly. Isolation, the unknown, the trust, everything is just like perfectly nicked on in this movie just to get a great horror effect in it. Yet it's not too scary that you can't watch it. And it's like I said with like Tremors, you know, it's a horror film, but it's not that. It's like not so fucking scary that you cannot watch it. You can keep on going on it. But man, is it creepy as fuck.
yeah,
But not like a bad creepy, like, you know, like I talked in previous podcasts, like with Saw, and like in gore films, like when they go too far, you know, it's like, well, this is just grotesque. No, this movie just nails it just perfectly, where there's just the right amount where it just like, oh fuck, but not like that would actually completely turns you off in the movie and stuff. And yeah, it's a must see for everyone. It is golden.
they don't dance around it either. The reason that this
No,
is
they
my
don't.
number 2 is because the second the movie starts, there's a helicopter chase. It just gets right into
Yeah.
the action right away. Like
No, that's what's great about it, and that's what's great about all these other movies I brought up too. That they just start, you know, and I just love that appreciate about these movies, that they just really get going.
Mm-hmm.
They don't leave you hanging.
They're-
And yeah.
There's this whole mystery that has to be unsolved through it, and by the time the movie starts and when the movie ends, like it all just clicks. It comes together, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
my god, that's why that was going on. And it is such a satisfying movie to finish up, like the same way that The
Yeah.
Sixth Sense is satisfying to be like, oh my god, this is what's happening. Like it makes you feel so good after like realizing I just sat through this amazing. It really makes you respect what you're watching.
No, and to be honest, like I will say this is actually my number 1, but I'm glad you kind of said it 'cause it explains why my number 2 is a number 2 and not my number 1. But yeah, this movie, like you said, everything just clicks together. The tempo is just fantastic in it.
So go to your number 2 then. We can move on then.
Yeah, no, I mean, if there's anything else you want to go on, please do, because I just wanted to address that right away, because I can talk about The Thing all day too, and how everyone needs to see it.
See, the more that I talk about the movie, the more I'm worried I'm gonna slip and say something, and so
okay, fair enough.
I'm just going to say once again, the camera, the framing is good for the camera. It's nothing spectacular or they're not trying to do more than they can. The writing is really good. The acting is really good. The robots are especially, any kind of not animation, but any kind of Robotniks or anything that they have in it are really good. So yeah, just everything about the movie is great. Mike, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is pretty much exactly every single thing we said about The Thing, except that the pacing is a lot longer, which I count as a negative than a positive. Some people call it positive, but my number 2 is Alien, with Sigourney Weaver. This movie is gold too. It is amazingly done. It came out even before The Thing in 1979, and you can still watch it today, and it looks fucking amazing. Dude. The set is great. The characters are great. The acting is fucking amazing. The story is awesome. It is just great all the way around.
It is. You were talking to your number 3, and as you were talking, I was looking at my list, and I was like, what am I missing? And it was Aliens. I like the second one a bit more than the first, but it was the Alien trilogy.
I was debating heavily between the two. Trust me, I really was. And I decided to go with Alien because I felt like Alien is more horror than Aliens. So that's why I'm like, all right, I put Alien on here. Trust me, I was going back and forth nonstop. I'm like, Aliens or Alien? Aliens or Alien? They're both fucking fantastic. Aliens becomes a little bit more of an action horror. Alien is straight up a horror film, and it is just, I already said it, it's just fucking gold. The Alien is, they're called Xenomorphs. And this spawned like a whole franchise that I absolutely love. Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Aliens Resurrections. Aliens 3 and Aliens Resurrections are not the best, but I love the fucking video games. I love the fucking crossover with Predators. It is just, this whole design of the creature and the background of it is fucking fantastic. Okay, so I don't like the latest Alien movie that came out. I think it's like,
there's one called Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah, fuck that one, and fuck the other one that came out too. It's the same director that made Alien, but trying to turn all gospel and weird, try to put some weird messages in this film. Like, dude, it's an alien film. It's an alien that kills people. It has fucking face huggers.
Yeah, they tried to make an alien movie without having alien in it. Like, they're trying to show the origin of Alien, and it's like,
and they also try to have like this heavily handed message about gods and death and religion. I'm like, dude, come on, let's get real. If you want to make a movie about that, make something else. You're making an alien movie. As much as I'm gonna say it's gold, it's still just a fucking alien on a spaceship that's killing people. That's all it is. That's what makes it fucking great too. It's an awesome monster film. It is Tremors on fucking steroids. If you took Tremors, put like a shitload of steroids in it, and then fucking a shitload of protein, you had a fucking Alien. That's what you get. It's that good. And Sigourney Weaver, amazing actress, amazing character to have as the main role, and there's not really much else to do it, but it's an alien that's on a ship with humans. But it's fantastic. It's really good, and if you've not seen it, you have to watch it. You're missing out. And the reason why I say that it's not a number 1 is that because of the pacing wise, I think that the pacing is a little slow. But it does help the movie though as well. But I've kind of realized that like with The Shining would have been on here. But after rewatching it again, I found out that is too fucking slow. That movie is slow as fuck. And I found with myself, I'm not really a fan of it. I think Alien just hits that the perfect cusps of that, where it's not too long, but there is a kind of a little bit of a pace in it. But that's why between the two, The Thing and Alien, I put The Thing above Alien, for sure. But yeah, so that is my number two, The Alien. 1979. The Thing came out in 1982, by the way, just to give a note. Ben, what's your number one? I'm really excited to hear this one because The Thing is a pretty damn hard movie to beat.
Well, so I think that you know what it is because you've mentioned it a couple times now, and this is purely because I like slower movies and you like them a bit faster. But my number one is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Bro, okay. I don't blame you. It is still a good movie, but for me, the pacing, I did realize is, man, this is a really slow fucking movie. But it is good.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine that you haven't seen The Shining to anyone listening to this, but in case you haven't, it is a bit slower, as Mike mentioned. There's a lot of progression built up where this character starts out as basically your normal Joe, and he's out here with his family. He is watching over a hotel in the winter season. So the hotel is snowed in, this 2-mile long road that they don't even bring people to plow because no one's up there. So basically his goal is the caretaker for this hotel for the 3 months that it's snowed in before summer comes around or spring comes around.
Right, so if any damages happen to it, he can stop it from expanding and make it worse than it can be.
Yeah,
so that's the reason why
if the boiler explodes or something, he can stop the leak damage from
making sure the pipes don't freeze and burst. That's why they have someone out there. It's pretty common back then to do that.
It's still common, and when I was living in Montana, I met a few caretakers, and they just watch over people's mansions. It's a pretty sweet job, actually. I was considering being a caretaker back in the day, 2 years ago.
It's not a bad gig. That sounds pretty good to me.
Well, I mean, if you've seen The Shining, maybe you might reconsider
Given that this
that.
movie, The Shining, did make me actually have a huge fear of hallways and mansions. I still have a small bit of phobia of dealing with long corridors and like in hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. If I'm by myself, I do get a little prick still here and there.
So one of the best things about The Shining is that on its own, it tells a pretty great horror story, but there's so many theories about the movie that you start to think that there's almost underlying stories that are being interlaced with the story that's shown to you. There's some great scenes where, the main character, his name is Jack Torrance. He's reading a Playgirl it's Playgirl magazine, and it's why is that guy reading a magazine for naked dudes basically? And then there's a couple other small elements that are sexual that you're wait a minute, and people start to make their own fan theories. That is a great small part about why this movie is great, but easily my favorite part about why this movie is awesome is because Jack Torrance has this incredible transformation into being just your normal Joe, and then turning into this monster. Yep. And I mean, it is so natural. There is nothing about it that makes me think this couldn't happen. Oh, this is just a story. I look at this and I legitimately think that could happen to people. If you put me alone in a hotel for 3 months, I could easily see myself going crazy. That's probably a reason why I didn't become a caretaker. But I think just the idea of it is realistic to me. They do such a good job with storytelling, and I can't keep mentioning progression enough. There are a lot of movies that just have terrible progression, and I think this one, it is slower, as Mike mentioned, but it starts from a base zero of here's a guy, a perfectly sane guy, here's his family, and they're not exactly newlyweds, but they have a young child and they're figuring it all out. And then from that to I'm a crazy person. They do a really good job of showing that dip. And I mean, I don't even know what else to say. Once again, that I feel like saying that he has a dip into insanity is already saying too much, so I'm afraid to say more.
Pretty much.
But the imagery, as Mike was saying, is awesome. I guess imagery or cinematography, but showing those long hallway shots. There's a great shot where in the hotel, the little boy has a little a big wheel, one of those things that you sit down, you ride on,
Lucky bastard. Wish I had a big wheel.
And there's this great long shot where he's riding it in a circle around the hotel. He just goes, down this hallway, down that hallway, through the kitchen, into the main, great
area.
room, and then the lobby area, and then back down the hallway, and it's all one shot. Like, it's really cool. And there's just a bunch of other shots that are incredible. There's great imagery. There's the two twins in the hallway, the woman in the bathtub. There's Jack Torrance at his desk typing, click clack click clack clack. There's the part where he's playing with the ball against the wall. Like, even that scene is like, ooh, there's a lot going on underneath the surface in that scene.
There's no line said, but you can definitely see what's going on by just watching.
Yeah,
there's actually very few lines in the movie. When I think about it, there's not much dialogue at all.
Mm-hmm. And the direction that Stanley Kubrick took this film is really great. So Jack Torrance's wife, I can't remember what her name is. Wendy? Is it? Maybe?
Yeah.
But she's purposefully supposed to be like not a supermodel type of actor that you would see in a lot of other movies.
I know what you mean about her. Maybe they did this to her character, maybe with makeup and stuff. She is not attractive at all.
That was a decision that they made, is that they didn't want her to look attractive. They wanted her to have confidence issues. Basically, someone that you don't want to spend a lot of time with, or someone that makes you feel uncomfortable to spend a lot of time with. And knowing that this guy is married to her, and then seeing his decline, it makes you think, oh man, once again, it kind of sells that idea. Like, he doesn't have some supermodel wife or like a perfect life. It shows from what I've got. And basically being stuck in this position of did I make the right choice getting married? Did I want to have this kid? And then other things that he's done in the past, like, he has to confront those for 3 months, and that's what drives him insane. That is the best part about The Shining, is that it just slowly eats him away. It's great. All right, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I'm looking at her photos of her when she was young. Yeah, she was a very attractive woman. They just made her ugly, which makes me feel better, because I always thought, since I saw her, I was like, woof. I mean, if you ever said, like, wolf about a woman, you see her, you go, woof. I feel bad for saying that, but woof. So they did not make her look good at all in this film. And that makes sense why they did that. The way you put it, it makes complete utter sense.
Well, yeah, they were just trying to sell the idea that idea.
It's like she's uncomfortable to be around and all that. Mm-hmm. That's very true. And this it used to be my favorite, but after watching with my girlfriend, I've changed heart. But it's definitely still a good horror movie, and definitely still a watch. But it is a long movie. It is 2 hours and 26 minutes, just to let you know. And I think there's an uncut version too, which makes it even longer then. But this one The Shining came out in 1980, and I think they made a remake of it, and that came out in when did that come out? 1997.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. I was trying to be like a snob about it. It's like, oh, how could they remake The Shining? So I remember watching it, sort of. I need to give that one another watch and see if it's actually better or actually good.
Mm-hmm. But so yeah, Jack Nicholson probably does the best acting of his entire career in The Shining.
For sure.
And
it's really, really good.
The last thing I'm going to say, too, is that they're actually making... It's not an unwarranted sequel, but they are making a sequel. So the writer, Stephen King, he has a sequel called Dr. Sleep, and that movie is coming out pretty soon, but it's with their son grown up. And
I remember seeing a trailer for that. That's right.
So once again, I don't want to say anything explaining what that movie is, because it gives away kind of what The Shining means.
Isn't it actually the same kid too as an adult?
No,
the actor.
No. Because that's the one who plays the kid grown up is Ewan McGregor in the one that's coming out.
Gotcha.
But otherwise, that is The Shining for you. I can't imagine no one's seen it, unless you're actively trying to avoid it at this point. But if for some reason you haven't seen it, go check it out. Mike, your number one, you said, was
The Thing, and then I've clearly explained why it's my number one, and everyone should go fucking see this movie. It is just, it's gold. It is gold. I'm surprised it's not Ben's number one after how much we talked the shit out of that one.
Hey,
but I understand why The Shining is though. Yeah, I know. But it is just, it's a movie that I think you can show anyone and that they'll love it too, if they're in the mood to watch a horror movie, of course. But it is just a must to see. If you want to see really good quality horror movie, it's The Thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what else to say on my part, but if you've got anything else to say, you can. I had my spiel.
No, I had my spiel with yours, because like, I realized I said so much shit during yours, I'm not going to repeat this again, so. But just to reiterate my list then, number 5 is The Vampires with James Woods. That's very important, with James Woods. It's not technically in the title, but when you look up vampires, you have to put in James Woods too, otherwise you'll never find it. And that one came out in 1998. My number 4 is Tremors, a fantastic, great intro to monster flicks, I believe. That is came out in 1990. My number 3, The Thing, a personal classic, personal favorite of mine, and that came out in 1951. It's the original The Thing. My number 2 is Alien, 1979. It is the pinnacle of any type of space/monster movie. Then number 1, The Thing, the ultimate horror movie that came out in 1982. I don't know, did I see what time the Alien one came out? Well, yeah, I did. 1979, and then The Thing came out in 1982, which just blows my mind on how old these movies really are, and that they still hold up today, and that they're like one of my favorites.
I was going to say, I can't believe Alien came out before the 80s. That is surprising. Right?
And just the quality of that is just nuts.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I need to get the Blu-ray version of that, because if one thing I found out is that classical movies in Blu-ray look absolutely fantastic, actually, and you should definitely, if you have a classical movie you love, get that movie in Blu-ray, because it's going to look 10 times better. But yeah, that's my top 5 with the dates that came out.
So my top 5, I suppose I could look up the dates really quickly while I'm saying them. So number 5 is The Faculty. This movie came out in 1998.
Yep.
My next one, number 4, is The Sixth Sense, and this one came out in 1999. So kind of pretty close to the millennium there, but at the same time,
90s. Hey, it's a 90s movie.
They're worth their weight, definitely. Next one is Silence of the Lambs. This one was in 1991. Then, Mike, my number 2 was John Carpenter's The Thing. What was the year that came out?
1982.
1982. Okay.
I have this written down, by the way, people. I don't have these off the top of my head, so I'm not a Soviet with this stuff.
Well, I remember it was on your list, so that's why I asked.
I have it right next to them, so I knew to like to say that.
And then my number 1 is The Shining, which came out in 1980. And it's interesting, I just noticed this. Besides number 5 and number 4, those all come in descending order. So Sixth Sense came out in 99, Faculty came out in 98, but then, so the rest of them, 91, what was The Thing? It was 84 or something?
82.
82, and then The Shining is 1980. So they all get further and further into the past as the list continues.
And The Shining still holds up in quality too, by the way. I don't know if I said that if you rewatch The Shining, it still holds up with the quality. Like, it has aged beautifully. Well,
absolutely.
Which is huge. Honestly, any movie deserves as much praise as it gets. Anything that lasts past that type of length of time.
Well, this is why shooting on film is so important, is because if you shoot on film, you can make that HD, Blu-ray, whatever, it's not pixels. You're painting each frame with light. And so you can always make those films better and better as more high-definition technology comes out. So that's why those movies are always going to look great. As long as they filmed it correctly, they're always going to look great. I had two honorable mentions. So Mike already mentioned Aliens, which would have been a third, but my other two are Children of the Corn, which I only saw last year, but I was extremely surprised with it.
Outlander!
Yeah.
Outlander!
We have your
We
woman,
have
Outlander.
your woman, Outlander!
It's
I love
great.
that line. It's so good.
And then a movie that I just grew up with that scared me to death is Poltergeist. So I thought I'd have to add that on here as well.
One movie that I've been dying to have on here, well, there's two movies I like to put on the list too, actually, is Little Shop of Horrors and The Frighteners. Those are two movies. I haven't seen them yet. I'm actually going to rewatch them. Hopefully I can rewatch them this week because I loved both of those movies when I was younger. I just haven't seen them in such a long time. But they hold a special place in my heart as well. And I think those are definitely movies that everyone should go see as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen either of those, Bens. Have you?
I haven't seen Little Shop of Horrors. What was the other one?
Frighteners. That is
No.
with who's the main guy who plays in Back to the Future?
Uh,
Let me see.
McFly. McFly.
Yeah,
Is anyone
Michael-
in there? Hello, McFly.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
So it's about he can see dead people and that stuff, and then it goes on this whole like crime investigation thing too as well, and I think he dies as well too, I believe, and it just like it's really good. It's just fantastic. Definitely something you should if you have some time, you want something. It's nothing you have to pay attention to though. It's not a serious film. It's like my other films. It's like Vampires with James Woods film.
Mm-hmm.
Just not as serious too. It's a comedy horror. Definitely a watch. And Little Shop of the Horrors too. The Little Shops of Horror is about a plant that comes from outer space and lands in a gardener. What's a person who sells plant? What do you call those people who sell flowers and stuff?
Florist?
A florist. Lands in the florist's backyard, and this plant talks, and all it says is, "Feed me, Seymour." And so what he needs to feed him though is blood, and so this florist starts killing people to feed this plant. That kind of just like hypnotizes him in a way that like it's so beautiful he wants to keep it alive, so he kills people to feed this creature, this space plant. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and stuff. It's a fantastic movie. The main actor is actually the one who played Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the father in that one.
Yeah. Well, this is a musical, isn't it? If I
It
remember correctly.
is a musical, yeah. I like the movie musical way better than the play. I was not a fan of the play. I thought the movie was actually better.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a watch for everyone to watch, by the way. It is really good music. It's a comedy horror. Definitely, I mean, but given though I like musicals, so I mean, if you don't like musicals, I say still give it a watch. I think it's a fantastic story and it's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I couldn't really, on my full heart, put in my top 5, but I had to say that it's something that people should go see.
Definitely. No, I this is one that's always been on my list for a while. So let's see. Next week's top 5 is a big one. So we're gonna be getting up close and personal here with Halloween in the next couple days. I mean, Halloween is not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, and so our last podcast of October, we decided we wanted to do something pretty big. So Mike and I both agreed that we've been doing this podcast now. We've got 34 episodes. We want our 35th episode to be just best horror games, period.
Oh, I thought we were doing crack.
Well, we can do both.
Okay.
Any game's a horror game with enough crack. SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, #1 horror game.
That sponge is fucking creepy.
So, anyway, that's going to be our next podcast. So, just obviously subjective list. There's no way to do an objectively best horror game. But what are the best horror games that Mike and I have played? Mike, from the sounds of it, you're going to be going with pretty scary games. I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to do scary games, but I'm sure a lot of mine are gonna be lackluster in comparison to yours.
Yeah,
But we'll
it's
see.
so funny how we're so different with the type of things that we do, even with our movies.
Yeah, but
It's
I mean,
great. I love it.
that's why I like this podcast, is because it's not an echo room. Like you and I,
Yeah.
we don't just always agree with each other. We agree with a good amount, but I
Mm-hmm.
like whenever you and I can differentiate when you and I have different thoughts.
Yeah, I absolutely love our top fives for these horror movies. I thought that, man, I forgot The Frighteners. The Frighteners is such a good classic. It's
I forgot
fantastic.
Aliens. I'm happy I remembered Faculty, but I've totally
Yeah,
spaced on Aliens.
good catch on The Faculty, dude. Like, I was trying to think of some good ones, and like I was gonna do Sleepy Hollow, but that was like a 1999 film, and I was like, it's riding too close. But again, because like the original, it was riding so close. I'm like, I can find some ones that are a little bit further away. But Faculty, golden choice, golden.
Yeah.
But I think that's a wrap in the podcast, and we'll be talking to you guys next weekend.
Yeah, so this week I'm going to be playing Gears 5, Metro Exodus, and I'd like to find some online game now that Mike has Xbox Games Pass, so we'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I'll be down for that. It'll be
Um,
cool to look into some more stuff like that.
Mike, you said that you're interested a little bit in Metro Exodus now, but there was another game you were looking at getting.
Oh,
What was
Ape
that
Out.
again?
I'm gonna go
Ape
and do
Out.
an Ape Out, and I'm gonna be actually diving heavily into indie games this week because Xbox Pass has every single indie game that I wanted to play, but haven't bought yet. So I'm gonna be playing all of those.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, as soon as this podcast is over, I'm probably gonna be starting the download for Ape Out and stuff.
Yep. And then in terms of movies, I would like to see John Carpenter's Vampires. I wrote this down before you even mentioned it this podcast. I said I want to see that movie again. So it's
by the
funny
way,
that you brought it up.
it's so funny that he did Vampires. It is just hysterical. That tickled me pink when you told me that. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That he did Vampires like
It's
2
icing
months.
on the cake, man.
Yeah, it just makes it even better for people to go see it.
So I want to see that, and then I'm also looking at Little Shop of Horrors right now. I think I'm gonna check that one out as well this week.
Oh, cool. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely give that one a watch too, because I've been dying to rewatch that one. So after I saw the play, which was forever ago, it's just not any of the services I know, so I gotta find out where it's on so I can watch it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am finished up here. Mike, I will talk to you
Likewise.
next week.
Yep, I'll talk to you next week too.
All right. See
Well,
you
I'll
guys.
probably talk to you during the week, but I'll talk to these people next week.
But it's a good way to sign off, is to say, see you next week.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah, but we know it's not true.
All right. Well,
All right, bye.
now we're just ending terribly.